What's happening, folks? We are back with part 2 of my 2025 Q&A. We're going to move on into the TVs, movies, and games category. So here is our first question. Which one do you think is better? Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas or Coraline? I'm gonna be honest, I don't care for either one. I tried to watch Nightmare Before Christmas, and I still don't get the hype for it. And Coraline never really piqued my interest. Thoughts on NASCAR? Oh, come on, do you know me? I love it! Putting all my silly kitty stuff to the side every weekend just so I can slightly be a grown-up, it's one of my many adult interests that I love to get engaged in. Opinion on Cars 2. Is it bad for me to say that I sorta have a guilty pleasure for it? Look, I'm not here to say that Cars 2 was a great movie, because it's really not. And yes, I know Mater is very irritating throughout most of the film, but again, is it bad for me to say that I sorta slightly found him to be relatable to a degree? And yeah, the whole spy story is very silly for something like the Cars franchise, but I don't hate it entirely. It's very mediocre at best, and something that I also just don't go out of my way to watch every single time it's on. Who is your favorite SpongeBob character, and what is your favorite episode? I can tell you that my favorite SpongeBob episode is Christmas Who, and my favorite character is Gary. That probably sounds random as fuck, I know, but I love Gary, simply because he's a mood, and he's also the type to not put up with anyone's shit, especially if it comes from SpongeBob. Kinda sounds like me in a way. Go figure. What are your thoughts on the FNAF movie, and are you excited for the sequel? First off, I have seen the FNAF movie, and I absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed sitting throughout the whole thing and just pointing out the little Easter eggs from all the games that I've personally played. And as far as the sequel goes, I cannot wait for it to come out. Do you like Teletubbies and Friends? Friends I don't really care about that much, but I am a closet fan of Teletubbies. I don't watch it very often though, only with either some friends or when I'm working on projects centered towards it. What do you think of the villain Syndrome from The Incredibles? Dude is a literal fucking psychotic fanboy. I mean, he is absolutely downright pathetic at trying to be a hero, but this is what makes him a really good villain. All he wanted was to help his hero, but was shunfully turned away, which also fueled his hate and jealousy towards all the other supers. He doesn't care about the safety of others, or the money, or even the glory. All he wants is to prove that he's a much better hero, but goes about it in such a pathetic way, whether being reckless or killing off all the other supers. Which is why I think he may just be one of Pixar's greatest movie villains. What is your favorite Disney show? Gravity Falls. I'm so glad I finally got into this show. I did not realize how much the show is not only quick-witted with its comedy, nothing feels forced, unlike what some cartoons try to do with their humor, but this show can also turn very dark and intense, which makes for some incredible episode watches. I gotta sit down and watch this series again. It's freaking amazing. Who is your favorite non-Tug character in Theodore Tugboat? That would probably go to Digby. I've really grown to love him as a side character, and I adore what they did with him throughout the course of the show. What are your favorite animated shows and movies? What are your least favorites? My favorite animated shows are My Hero Academia, Adventures of Sonic, Sonic X, Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Powerpuff Girls, MLP, VeggieTales, and so on. My least favorites, there's a ton, but ones that immediately come to mind that I don't particularly care for: Max and Ruby, Paw Patrol, I'm throwing AEG in here, Bob the Builder, sorry, Dora, Arthur, Sonic the Hedgehog, and so on. My favorite animated movies, well, there's a ton for Disney: Balto, Polar Express, Shrek 2, Spirit, Watership Down, the Super Mario movie, just to name off a few. But my least favorite animated movies, you got ones like Nightmare Before Christmas. Again, I just personally didn't get the hype for it. Corpse Bride, I was never big into it. Shark Tale, I used to like this one back in the day, but now I'm over it. Hercules, I'm not exactly a big one on. Again, I'm just trying to name some off the top of my head. Who is your favorite MLP Gen 4 character? That would be Twilight Sparkle, close second, Apple Bloom. What is your favorite MLP Gen 4 episode? That episode is The Perfect Pair. I already thought this episode was great the first time I watched it, but now it actually hits more deep in the feels for me. It's sort of like a different, but also kind of similar, more modernized Romeo and Juliet type of story, and I think it was handled very well. And also, Pear Butter and Bright Mac's relationship kind of makes me think of me and my new boyfriend, and how much I love him. As sappy as that may sound to some, I do believe we are the perfect pair, just like these two, and I'm looking forward to more happy days with him. Favorite modern cartoon? My Hero Academia, no questions. If you were forced to only be able to watch 3 movies for the rest of your life, what would they be? My first choice would probably be Shazam, as it's the only superhero movie I actually really care about. My second choice would be Wonka, because I think it's such a fun movie. And my last choice would be Pinocchio, as that's one of my very, very favorite Disney films. Which sequel has you more concerned? Toy Story 5 or Shrek 5? Probably Shrek 5. I mean, Toy Story I'm also on the fence for, but at least I kind of have a basic idea on what may happen. But as for Shrek, I've not really seen too much about it, so I think I'm a little nervous for that, because I don't know what the hell else to expect. Have you seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie? What are your thoughts for the sequel? As I said, yes, I have seen it, and I loved it. Besides the Sonic movies, this is the most hype I've had for a video game series movie. And as for the sequel, absolutely stoked. I cannot wait for it to come out. Have you seen the Paddington movies? Yes, and I actually enjoyed them. I'm already aware of Paddington in Peru, and I am pretty intrigued. I just gotta find the time to watch it. What is your favorite and least favorite Sonic the Hedgehog show and movie, and why? My favorite Sonic show is either The Adventures of Sonic or Sonic X, depending on my mood. Adventures I get a kick out of simply with the slapstick humor, and Sonic X I really like the lore that they tap into, especially with something like the Shadow incident, despite 4 kids fucking around with it. My least favorite show is definitely Sonic Sat AM, cause I didn't like when they would be on one plot line, like Sally trying to find her father, which started so out of the blue, by the way, or we'd find out a little bit about Sonic's uncle, then we'd ditch him and move on to something else, and it was just so confusing to keep track of. And I'm also not really a big fan of certain characters, like Antoine, for example. I found him to be extremely annoying throughout the whole freaking show. As for movies, so far my favorite, hands down, is Sonic 3, as I believe it's the best we've gotten out of the live-action movies. And as for my least favorite, the only other one that I'm aware of is the late 1990s Sonic OVA movie. And it should be obvious why, because I barely remember a thing about it other than Metal Sonic. That's it. Plot's also a bit messy from what I remember. It's the whole 9 with it. I don't remember a freaking thing about it. Favorite Home Alone movie? I literally cannot choose between the original and Lost in New York, as I love them both equally, so I'm just gonna say both. Most underrated Theodore Tugboat character and episode? I'd have to say I think Pugwash is kind of underrated, only because she appeared at the very tail end of Season 5 and only got 3 spotlight episodes. I wish they would have done more with her, had she been introduced just a little bit earlier. As far as underrated episode, I don't know if I really have a direct answer for that one. You'll find out when I eventually make a video on that particular topic. DVD or VHS? VHS all the way, because nostalgia. What is your favorite video game? That would be The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. What are your top 5 favorite shows of all time? Well, pulling away from the actual kiddie shows and really focusing on for real TV shows, my list goes number 5, Survivor, number 4, Doctor Who, number 3, Walking Dead, 2, a tie with Manifest and Lucifer, and number 1, Once Upon a Time. Have you seen the first 2 LA Sonic movies and the Knuckles spin-off, and are you excited for the 3rd movie? Well, the Knuckles spin-off I haven't seen yet, but I do plan to very soon. As for the first 2 movies, yes I have, and I loved them both. And I actually, I want to say like a month or so ago, I watched the 3rd movie through a Twitter leak, and I really enjoyed that one. Like I said, I think it's the best Sonic movie we've had so far, and I'm very much looking forward to when the fourth one comes. Do you have a favorite Pixar movie? Yes, the first Cars. What is your favorite Mario Kart? That is a tie, I think, between Double Dash and 8 Deluxe. Double Dash was actually the very first Mario game I ever played in terms of the racing ones, and I still think it holds up really well. Whereas 8 Deluxe has really set the bar with the amount of tracks it's given us, and there's a ton of DLC tracks that have become personal favorites of mine. Both of these games, hands down, are fantastic. Favorite franchises besides Thomas? Theodore Tugboat, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Bluey, Mr. Rogers, NASCAR, Walking Dead, Doctor Who, Stranger Things, Dexter, Once Upon a Time, My Hero Academia, Pokemon, Powerpuff Girls, Harry Potter, Mario, Sonic, Zelda, FNAF, just naming stuff off the top of my head. Thoughts on the model JJ the Jet Plane series? I actually really like it. I can understand why people are a bit unnerved by it because of how creepy the models look at times, but the writing in this series is something that I really enjoy compared to something like the CGI counterpart. I'm actually thinking of maybe doing a video on this series. I don't know when, but we'll see what happens. Have you seen Sonic Prime? Yes, I did, and I actually kind of liked it. Kind of wish they didn't leave us on this big cliffhanger of sorts, but hey, I still enjoyed it. Do you watch any shows from Cartoon Network? I used to watch a lot of Cartoon Network back in the day, but now I only stick with just a small handful. Those are Powerpuff Girls, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Johnny Bravo, Courage, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Scooby-Doo, Tom and Jerry, and Hamtaro. Which video game do you think is kind of forgettable? Do any of you know what Frogger is? What is your most and least favorite episode of Bluey? Well, as you know, my favorite episode is Sleepy Time, but as for my least favorite, there's too many for me to name right now. Depending on what the copyright is, I may make some videos on Bluey, talking about my favorite and my least favorite episodes. We'll see. Which recurring character from Theodore Tugboat is the funniest? Why, Digby, of course! Top 5 favorite and least favorite movies from DreamWorks. My top 5 favorites are number 5, Madagascar, number 4, Shrek, number 3, Kung Fu Panda, number 2, Shrek 2, and number 1, Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. Can't exactly give you my least favorites because there are some that I've not seen and I was actually never really interested in, so it would be kind of unfair to judge. What is your opinion on Tugs? I like Tugs, don't get me wrong. I just personally don't think it's the greatest thing in the world like a lot of people have made it out to be. How would you feel if Tugs was renewed for a second season? You know, it really wouldn't make a difference to me. I'd be like, okay. Thoughts on Sagwa the Chinese Siamese Cat? I used to watch this show back in the day on PBS Kids, and I still love it. This is one of my childhood shows that I would love to, at some point, go back and rewatch. Favorite Teletubbies character? My girl Lala. Thoughts on the Nickelodeon documentary Quiet on Set? I really liked it. Can't believe how much shady shit was kept behind closed doors at Nickelodeon. And all I can say is, I feel so bad for all of the victims, and I hope things just get better for them. All that's left to say is, fuck Nickelodeon, fuck Dan Schneider, and every single associate involved with these heinous acts. I seriously hope they get what's coming to them at some point. What's your favorite Mario game? Super Mario Sunshine. Favorite Bluey character? Bluey, duh. Favorite British TV program? Doctor Who, hands down. What is your opinion on Wallace and Gromit? I don't really care for Wallace and Gromit. It's just not one of my major interests. Sorry. What's your favorite Assassin's Creed game? If not, what are some of your other favorite open-world explorative games? Assassin's Creed is another game that I unfortunately never got the chance to play. But as far as open-world games, I'd say The Witcher Wild Hunt. I'd recommend playing this game if you haven't. It's so good. Have you seen Inside Out 2? If so, what are your thoughts, favorite character, old and new, and favorite scene? I have seen Inside Out 2, and I actually really liked it. I'd say it's just as good as the first one, if not maybe a slight bit better. My favorite character out of the old cast is Joy, no questions asked, and my favorite of the newbies is definitely Anxiety, because she's literally a mood. And I also think my favorite scene is probably when the old crew get up to like the main hub area and they try to stop Anxiety from literally breaking Riley. That scene was actually pretty impactful and very well animated, I must say. Good job to the guys at Pixar for that. Least favorite Tugs episode? That has to go to Warrior. Opinion on the recent Wiggles documentary on Amazon Prime. Loved it. It was really interesting to learn how they started, what hurdles they had to jump through to become a successful children's group, learning about their personal life and the struggles they've had to, which did kind of break me a little bit. Overall, it was fantastic. I would totally watch this again. What are your favorite Disney and Pixar movies? Well, for classic and modern Disney, we have Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, Dumbo. As controversial as this movie is, I actually really like Song of the South, The Black Cauldron, Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Great Mouse Detective, Lady and the Tramp, 101 Dalmatians, The Rescuers, Mary Poppins, Peter Pan, Muppet Treasure Island and Muppet Christmas Carol, Brother Bear, The Country Bears, The Lion King 2, Enchanted, 102 Dalmatians, Wreck-It Ralph, Bolt, Moana, and Christopher Robin. My favorite Pixar movies are Cars, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Coco, Ratatouille, Toy Story 3, Up, and Soul. What are your favorite and least favorite movies? Well, you heard my takes for animation movies, but I'm into tons of other ones. And some of my personal favorites are The Patriot, Dances with Wolves, Romeo and Juliet, Of Mice and Men, Cinderella Man, Smokey and the Bandit, Mrs. Doubtfire, The Day After Tomorrow, It, The Conjuring 2, Saw, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and the Goblet of Fire, Shazam, FNAF, Wonka, all really good titles and so on. Now, I wouldn't call these least favorites, but these are just ones that I didn't really have that big of an interest in. So you've got titles like Back to the Future, any of the James Bond movies, Men in Black, Jurassic Park, just trying to name off the few of my head. And who knows, maybe if I actually give these movies a chance one day, my opinions may change later on. We'll see. Mario or Sonic? I love both, but I'm more into Sonic. Nintendo or Sega? Nintendo. Thoughts on MLP Gen 5 getting cancelled? I can't really say I'm that upset over it because I never watched anything Gen 5. Thoughts on Chuggington?
The bin.
Thoughts on the MLP Gen 6 leaks? Really not all that interested. Favorite FNAF game? Currently, that is Security Breach. And if I may throw this one in here for the fan games, my favorite from that particular category would have to be The Joy of Creation. Least favorite FNAF game? Probably FNAF 3. Most underrated FNAF game? I'd say either 3 or 4. Most overrated FNAF game? As much as I love it, I would have to say Sister Location. Which Christmas movie is better? Home Alone or Elf? I like them both!
Don't make me choose!
Favorite Powerpuff Girl? Bubbles. Out of all the voice actors that played Sonic the Hedgehog, which one is your favorite? Oh, hands down, Jason Griffith. Best Sonic the Hedgehog game, and why is it Unleashed? You're right, Sonic Unleashed is the best Sonic game. Why? Because I feel like it personally had the best storyline for any of the Sonic games. It introduced some of the most interesting characters, really cool gameplay with the Werehog, the soundtrack also slaps. Everything about this game is just so freaking perfect. It's been quite a long time since I've played it though, and I definitely need to go back and play it one day. What is your favorite and least favorite season of Once Upon a Time? My favorite season of OUAT is Season 3. I love the story arcs in particular that have to do with Peter Pan and Zelina. And as for my least favorite, I'm gonna have to say Season 7. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's bad or anything. It's just that I don't really remember a lot from it. Only because, I guess, well, I've only seen it once. So I guess that doesn't really help. Have you seen any Wiggles media with Sam as the Yellow Wiggle? As a matter of fact, yes I have, and I really enjoy what Sam did for the Wiggles. I'm actually really ashamed that it took me so many years to actually give his era a real proper chance, because, like most of us, I grew up with the OGs, and they were the only ones I really wanted to stick with. So, yeah, in a way, I kind of boycotted the new generation. But when a buddy of mine and I actually watched some of the specials and listened to the albums, like, wow, were we wrong. Sam's era is very well done, and it actually is really underappreciated. I recommend checking his stuff out. Who is your favorite Tugs character? I've said this a few times before. My two favorite characters are 10 Cents and Sunshine. What is your favorite Christmas movie? That award goes to The Polar Express. What was the funniest episode of Theodore Tugboat you watched? I'm gonna say Scally Stuff. It's such a goofy episode that I honestly can't help but chuckle at everything that happens. Theodore getting dizzy with the wind spinner, Hank bouncing all over with his bumper, Emily getting caught in Bobby, Boduk scared shitless with his emergency horn, and of course, Bedford all dressed up. Which version of Best Friends do you think is better? Season 1 for Theodore Tugboat or Season 12 for Thomas? I'm definitely going with Theodore Tugboat on this one. And you know what? You just gave me a really good idea for a video analysis on these two. And I'm probably going to work on that really soon. Who is your favorite Winnie the Pooh character? That would be Tigger. Which version of The Grinch do you prefer? The cartoon, live action, or the CGI version? I actually prefer the live action version. I don't really care all that much for the CGI one, and I have nothing against the cartoon one as that's the version I grew up with first. But what I love most about the live action movie is how they actually went out of their way to give us a backstory as to why the Grinch hates Christmas. And it also gives us a bit of a wake-up call through not only the eyes of the Grinch, but with Cindy showing us how much Christmas has been heavily commercialized, and therefore there are some folk who have strayed away from what the holiday is actually meant to represent. That's why I adore this movie so much for covering such heavy and very important topics. Best Bluey episodes. To be perfectly honest, it's been a hot minute since I've watched anything Bluey, and I've only seen certain episodes once. I think I'd have to go back and rewatch the entire series again in order for me to decide which are the best. But hey, that does give me a good idea for a future video possibly. Favorite Walking Dead characters other than Rick? Well, I also love Negan, Daryl, Michonne. I've grown to love Carol a little more, Ezekiel, Herschel, the list could go on and on. You got a really good set of characters and not just these ones. If you could choose any fictional character from a game or TV show to bring into the real world, who would it be and why? Well, I didn't want to sound basic when choosing just any character like Thomas, Theodore, or Yami Yugi, so I actually picked a character that I thought really resonated with me on a personal level. That character is Izuku Midoriya, or Deku from My Hero Academia. The reason I chose Deku is simply because he reminds me a lot of myself. How he was picked on for chasing his dreams and everybody looked down on him, which was sort of like me when I was in school. He pushes himself to bigger limits so that he can prove to everyone he's not just this scrawny little weakling. Same as I. I've tried to set goals for myself and I keep pushing forward to make them happen. As the series progresses, he goes through such a big arc and we see how much he's matured and grown up. Again, the same as I. In the last few years, I've most definitely grown and matured into a much better person than I was years ago, and I continue to move forward with that. Also, Deku I feel like is the kind of character who wears his heart on his sleeve. He will literally do anything to love and protect the ones he cares about. Take it from me, I would do the exact same. It goes completely, without question, why Izuku Midoriya is one of my all-time favorite characters of any TV show. I love this kid so much. What's your opinion on Wally? I'm probably gonna get some major backlash for this, but I actually don't care for it. I don't know if it was just me, but I was having a really difficult time trying to grasp what the hell was going on. I lost interest quite a number of times than I can count while I was watching. It's just not one of my preferred favorites. Favorite board game? That goes to either Harry Potter or Disney's Seen It. What are your favorite episodes of Sooty? Okay, well, the only episodes I've watched from this particular franchise is from Sooty & Co., so I'll give you the list of episodes that are my favorites from that one. Moving In, Scrap Idea, Comforters, Buddy Jolly, Bubble Trouble, It Pays to Advertise, Phobias, Time Gentlemen Please, Dog Tired, Camelot, Sue's Baby, and Home Alone. I do know there is a lot more for Sooty & Co., not just these ones, but not all of them are found, so I haven't really had the time to watch them. What are your favorite episodes of Rosie and Jim? Okay, this is a pretty big list, so stand back. Locks, painting, supermarket, glass, washing, coal, bread, shopping, weaving, milking, rubbish, pottery, fairground, letters, getting lost, automata, butterflies, small animals, hospital, boat painting, waterworks, library, rope, trees, shoes, puppet show, eggs, boat festival, gingerbread man, brass band, 10-pin bowling, potatoes, soap factory, bouncy castle, flood on the boat, roller skating, nighttime, circus, restaurant, lost kitten, lights, pizza, dog agility training, ballroom dancing, spring cleaning, water skiing, cake, beach, roundabout, noodles, water slide ketchup, Chinese lion dance, music party, honeybee, drawing, disco, baby elephant, disappearing dog, Mother's Day, water everywhere, little ducklings, runaway rollerblades, and the magic show. We know that your favorite MLP characters are Twilight, Apple Bloom, Luna, Rainbow Dash, and Starlight, but do you have a favorite Spotlight episode for each of them? My favorite Twilight episode is Magical Mystery Cure. Apple Bloom would be On Your Marks. Luna, it's a tie between Luna Eclipsed and Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep. Rainbow Dash, another tie between Wonderbolt Academy and Tanks for the Memories. And Starlight, another tie with No Second Prances and A Heart's Warming Tale. What are your thoughts on the 3 gala episodes of Friendship is Magic? Don't you mean 2? Because I don't remember there being 3. I don't count anything that has it mentioned, so something like Suited for Success to me doesn't count. Anyway, the best night ever. I think this one is really good. I'd say it's one of my favorites of Season 1. And Make New Friends But Keep Discord is okay for the most part. We get to see Discord in a much more vulnerable position, struggling to share Fluttershy with anyone else, but is having trouble expressing that. I like this kind of character development for Discord, but I wouldn't go out of my way to say this is a favorite of mine. Maud Pie personally doesn't do anything for me, so therefore I do not have a favorite episode starring her. What's your favorite Mario Party title? Mario Party Jamboree. What's your favorite Peanuts special? My favorite Peanuts special is Snoopy Come Home. This freaking thing hurt me so hard in the feels. Like, I cannot believe they did something this sad. But what I also appreciate about it is how it's a continuation of a previous special, Snoopy's Reunion. And this is how we get to know a little more about Lila and why she had to give up Snoopy. Like I said, it's pretty freaking sad, but I think it's one of the best specials I've seen personally. Favorite Muppet movie? That's a tie between Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island. What are your favorite movies from 2005? My favorites from 2005 that I can remember were Robots, Shark Boy and Lava Girl, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Madagascar, and Racing Stripes. What were your other most watched shows as a kid that wasn't Thomas? The other shows that I watched when I was a kid that were not Thomas related, you had, well, obviously, Theodore Tugboat, Dragon Tales, Clifford, Blue's Clues, Mr. Rogers, Little Bear, Wiggles, Bear in the Big Blue House, Roly Poly Oly, Stanley. There's many other ones after that, but these were the main big ones for me. Believe it or not, I'm actually pretty big into horror. And I think my favorite movies are the Saw movies. And our final question, what are your favorite Christmas songs and carols, as well as your favorite Christmas movies and specials? Well, some of my favorite Christmas songs include Believe, When Christmas Comes to Town, DJ Play a Christmas Song, White Christmas, I could go on forever with these. Christmas carols, I really like Angels We Have Heard on High, Silent Night, Away in a Manger, keeping it simple with just those particular classics. My personal favorite Christmas specials are The Cartoon Grinch, Mickey's Christmas Carol, Shining Time Station 'Tis a Gift, any one of the 3 OG Wiggle specials, Christmas Who, It's a SpongeBob Christmas, and Big Time Christmas. And lastly, my favorite Christmas movies are, no duh, The Polar Express, Jim Carrey Grinch, Muppet Christmas Carol, The Animated Rudolph, Home Alone 1 and 2, and Elf. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this category. I will see you all in the final part where we talk about our biggest category, Thomas the Tank Engine. Bye for now.